Peace be upon you, and the mercy and blessings of God. Good evening to you all. This is your brother, Marwan Mansour, from the Secrets of Agriculture channel. If you have two trees of this size, 30 or 40 years old, and they are infested with weevils or the sawfly worm, wood-boring worm, with this method, you can get rid of the insect forever, whether it is in the trunk of the tree or in the roots. Do you see this fig tree? It has a severe infection. The tree is rotting from the inside. The tree is large, over 35 years old. It is a giant tree of this size, mashallah, and its variety is good, producing large fruit. But subhanallah, the tree was neglected for a period, and the weevil has attacked it in this manner. Even if we remove the bark and got rid of the weevil, this tree is almost impossible to keep alive because, as you can see, it is almost entirely wood-hardened and dried out. Therefore, we need to find a genius method to help the tree get rid of the weevils. And at the same time, we need to install an artificial trunk so the tree can survive.
Let's see what method we will use to get rid of the insect and how we will install an artificial trunk for it. First, we need to clean under the tree. We remove all these leaves and all this sawdust. Regarding the weevil or the sawfly worm, if it strikes your fig tree, olive tree, almond tree, or any tree you have, and you neglect the tree for a year, the tree is considered dead. Why? Because the weevil and the sawfly worm feed on the sap found in the tree branches. They suck the sap, excrete it as sawdust, and throw it out. As you can see with my fig tree, it has holes that you could fit your finger into, as if a caliber 23 bullet hit the tree. This is all where the insect bored in. This insect, the weevil or sawfly worm, eats the tree from the inside. Within a year, if you don't catch it, your tree might turn to firewood or dry out completely, especially if you have a giant tree like this one. This tree is about 35 to 40 years old, a towering tree about 10 meters high. It would be a shame to let the worm kill it. Even if I brought a metal wire, like the traditional method people use to get rid of weevils, it wouldn't work with this insect attacking my fig tree. This is because my fig tree, as you can notice, is eaten away up to a height of 1.5 meters, and the trunk is rotting from the inside. So what am I going to do now? First, I want to remove all the dry bark and all the sawdust on the tree trunk. We need to completely clear the trunk of the crust, the bran-like debris, and any insects hiding under the trunk or the bark. Once we have shaved the trunk clean like this, we will get a brush or a broom and try to clean the tree completely. Once we have cleaned the tree of the bark, scales, and sawdust, what do we do next? We need to build a basin around the fig tree. What is the function of the basin? I will use the basin for 2 or 3 things. 1. Electricity. I can connect an electric wire inside the basin I build around the trunk, fill it with water, and electrocute all the worms and insects still inside the roots or the trunk, those hiding in deep places where a metal wire cannot reach. So brothers, the first goal of the basin is to fill it with water, electrocute the tree, and get rid of all insects in the trunk. 2. Insecticide. I can fill the basin with water and add insecticide to get rid of insects in the roots or trunk. 3. Fungicide. I can also fill the basin with water and add a fungicide. So I will benefit from the basin in 3 ways. If I build a basin around this tree, whether using stone, brick, or cinder blocks, I won't lose anything. Why? Because the tree is 30 to 40 years old. It deserves a little expense and attention, as you notice, brothers. I will explain in detail how to get rid of the sawfly worm because there are hundreds or thousands of people who have lost fig, olive, and almond trees dear to their hearts because of this worm. So if you electrocute this worm, it's the least it deserves. If you noticed, this tree is over 10 meters high, and a single fruit weighs about 100 grams. It's a special tree. Honestly, when I first arrived at the farm and toured it, seeing the fig tree in this state broke my heart. It's a shame for this tree to be neglected and left to its inevitable fate of death. As you notice, brothers, while I was scraping the tree bark, some sawdust was still packed tightly inside the holes dug by the insect. Imagine, the insect dug the trunk, pushed out the sawdust until it was done, and then the last bit of sawdust it produced, when it had no more work in that hole, it stuffed back into the hole it made, and then it exited from another side. This is why if you brought a metal wire and tried to get rid of the weevil using the wire, you wouldn't be able to. This tree has been neglected since roughly 2019, about 6 or 7 years. In these years, the insect has bored through the trunk from top to bottom, left and right. The wire won't reach the insect. When do you use a wire to poke into the hole and pierce the insect inside? You use that when the infestation is slight,
the hole isn't deep, or the infestation is only 5 or 6 months old, or a year. In that case, you can use a metal wire, like a motorcycle clutch cable, which is flexible. Insert it into the hole, whether it's an olive, fig, or almond tree, and get rid of the insect. But when the infestation is severe, like in my tree, you can only get rid of it via electricity or insecticide. These are the only 2 ways to save the tree from this dangerous pest.
I am now in the final stage of cleaning the tree. I peeled off all the dry bark and cleaned the tree completely of sawdust. As I mentioned, the insect packs the hole shut with sawdust so tightly that even if you add pesticide, it won't enter the hole. That's why I removed the dry bark and cleaned all the holes of sawdust, as you can see. I brushed the tree thoroughly with a stiff broom. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to add cinder blocks all around it. We will build the blocks in a circle. This is the best way to use this tool permanently. I want to build a block wall around the trunk for more than one reason. 1. To get rid of the insect via pesticide or electricity. 2. We can add fungicides to the basin if there are fungal diseases in the roots or trunk. 3. At the same time, once I get rid of the weevils and fungal diseases, what will I do? I will get insecticide, mix it with lime, and paint the tree trunk. I'll leave it for 2 or 3 days to dry well. 4. Then I will fill the basin I built with soil. I want to support the roots. Do you see the bark still attached to the trunk? This pitting that looks like a map, this is live bark. It has green inside. It's still working and alive. Therefore, once I fill the basin with soil, I will strengthen this green crust. This green bark will produce roots, and God willing, these roots will support the tree, allowing it to grow and bear fruit. Last season, at the beginning of spring, the tree started producing leaves. It had leaves for about 2 months, then they started to yellow and fall off. The small fruits stayed on the tree for about a month and a half, then they started falling too. Why? Because the tree is tired, exhausted, and sick. It is crying out from the bottom of its heart. It couldn't keep the leaves until the end of the season or nourish the fruit to ripeness. It was giving more energy to the fruit and leaves than it could afford. So, through this basin, we will first clear the pests and fungi and then fill it with soil to increase the root mass, allowing the tree to resume activity. We have cleaned the tree, now we want to make a circle around the trunk. We will bring cinder blocks, what we call blocks or concrete stones in Syria, and build around it. Why am I marking the circle like this? To outline where the blocks will go so the circle isn't misshapen. We clear the ground to make the soil soft, wet, or dry before building. Now I want to connect the electricity because I want to deliver an electric shock. I want to make the worm's screams reach Aleppo. How do I connect it? I will connect a live, hot, and neutral cold wire. It's like putting a stripped wire into a tin of water. As you can see, brothers, we have a cable with 2 wires, one black, one brown. We will tape them to the tree trunk to fix them in place. The function of this wire is solely to transfer electricity into the basin we are building. To make the blocks sit firmly on the ground, we add water around the trench we dug. Now we start placing the blocks. The block is 12 centimeters thick, 20 centimeters high, and 40 centimeters long. The basin will be about 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, and the height should preferably be 60 to 70 centimeters, including the concrete layer between blocks. I am not a mason, but I will build the circle and see how it looks. The gaps between blocks will be filled with concrete and stones. This is the required height. As you noticed, we placed the electric wire at a height of about 20 centimeters, a handspan from the bottom. So if we fill half this basin with water, we will electrocute the worm inside the trunk. Someone might say, Abu Saleh, how will you electrocute the worm when the tree trunk is wood? Brother, the worm goes into the roots deep in the soil and in the trunk. I use this basin to fill it with water. The water will directly climb and enter the holes dug by the insect. The insect doesn't have blood, but it has nerves. So the insect will be electrocuted, and we will see the result at the end of the video.
Originally, its name is the Sawfly Worm, or wood borer. The other weevil, although people call it a weevil or sawfly, its basic name is the Sawfly Worm. As for the weevil, sauce, this weevil looks like a flea. We call it a flea, the kind that gets on the bodies of sheep or goats. Do you know it? Or on chickens. Some people call it mites or lice. This is what is called a weevil. This weevil pricks the tree, making a hole like a needle prick, a very fine hole. However, the infestation happens in the thousands or millions. Therefore, your olive or fig tree might dry out if it has this type of weevil, which is tiny like a gnat or a flea. Try to examine the dry trunk. If there are very fine holes like needle pricks, then you have a different type of weevil. But if your tree is perforated in this manner, like the tree I have here, with a hole that you could fit your finger into, this is a weevil of the sawfly worm type. So the one currently in my tree is the sawfly worm. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this sawfly worm has more than one method of treatment. Some people might bring a piece of cotton soaked in diesel or gasoline and push it into the hole dug by the insect using a metal wire. I believe this method is ineffective because the insect or weevil does not dig in a straight line. It digs in a zigzag pattern. No matter how hard you try to push the cotton soaked in diesel, it won't reach the insect. And even if you leave the cotton soaked in diesel or insecticide inside the hole, it won't work. Why? Because the weevil doesn't necessarily come back to the same place where it started digging. It might dig in a different direction and exit from another side to eject the waste sawdust. Therefore, this method is ineffective. The other method is to bring a metal wire, like a clutch cable, and insert it into the hole, poking it until you reach the insect and kill it. This method is effective, but not 100%. Why? Because the insect might be hiding in a very deep part of the tree, where the wire cannot reach it, so you won't be able to treat the tree completely.
So even if I brought a metal wire, like the traditional method people use to get rid of the weevil or the sawfly worm, it wouldn't work with this insect attacking my fig tree. The wire won't be able to reach the insect. When do you use the wire? To insert it into the hole dug by the insect and pierce the insect while it is inside the tree. You use it when the infestation is slight, and when the hole isn't deep, or when the infestation is, for example, 5 or 6 months, or a year old, or a month old. In that case, you can use a metal wire, which is the wire they use for motorcycles or motorbikes, a clutch cable, a wire that is flexible. You insert it into the hole dug by the insect, whether it is an olive tree, a fig tree, or an almond tree, and get rid of the insect inside the tree. The other method is that you bring a metal wire, clutch cable, and insert it into the hole, and keep moving it along until you reach the insect and kill it. This method is effective, but not 100%. Why? Because the insect might have gone into a very deep place in the tree. The wire won't reach it, and you won't be able to treat the tree completely.
And because I am in a hurry and I hate the weevil, I didn't have the patience to wait until the second or third day for the concrete to dry before filling it with water. Therefore, I want to reinforce it in this manner using string, a strong plastic string. I will wrap it all the way around the blocks and then tie it together. In this case, even if I fill it with water, it won't burst open, because you all know water pressure is strong. If I fill the basin with water while it is still freshly built, it might burst, crack apart, displace the blocks, and we would lose the water. Therefore, I want to tighten it this way using the rope so it remains cohesive. Even if there is pressure and the blocks try to push backward, they won't be able to. I mean, you don't necessarily have to use a plastic string. You can use anything to wrap around the basin and secure it so it doesn't burst. But I advise you, if you have a tree and aren't filming a video, you can build the blocks, leave them for say 2 or 3 days to dry, and then fill them with water. In that case, you are not forced to wrap a metal wire or plastic string around the tree.
I am currently going to connect the electricity because I want to deliver an electric shock. I will connect a live, hot, and neutral cold wire. It's like bringing a stripped wire and putting it into a tin of water. We have 2 wires here in 1 cable. We will tape them to the tree trunk. The function of this wire is solely to transfer electricity to the basin we are going to build. Of course, do not forget, if you have a water well and you want to put the hose inside the basin, you must remove the hose from inside the basin before you turn on the electricity. This method is dangerous. Try not to be negligent. For example, don't go to connect the electricity while one of your children is playing nearby. I connected the electricity for a duration of about 3 seconds, no more, just as it caught, you know? Don't think of it like a heater where you wait for it to heat up and warm yourself on it, leaving the electricity connected for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, or a whole day. No. As soon as you fill it with water, you connect the electric wire and within seconds you can unplug it. So it is just a snapshot, a zap. A single shock is enough for you to get rid of all the insects, God willing. Currently, the water is rising. Once it reaches up a bit, meaning roughly 10 centimeters before reaching the top edge of the basin, we can go and apply the electricity. We have filled the basin and applied electricity. Now, let's see the result.